just going to start with the bell. You don't have to be like Pavlov's dogs and go into deep meditation. I'm just going to ring the bell to open the space. So it's wonderful to be here. Whoever is here is just perfect for me. I'm delighted. And I'm going to have a little time coming up to ask you a little bit about yourselves. It's 3 of you or 4 of you. And so just to let you know, I'd like to go around and do that. But before we begin with that, I want to just start with like a 5-minute sit. And I'm going to open and close with a reading, with a poem from a couple of mystics. The first one will be from Rumi, and then we'll sit for 5 minutes, just going on the wings of those words into the wordless, and then I'll bring us out of the sit with a poem by St. John of the Cross. Just for a few minutes, and then we'll begin. We'll go from there. Okay. Actually, this is not from Rumi. This is from Ibn Arabi, another medieval Middle Eastern mystic. Oh, marvel! A garden amidst the flames. My heart has become capable of every form. It is a pasture for gazelles, and a convent for Christian monks, and a temple for idols, and the pilgrim's Kaaba, and the tablets of the Torah, and the book of the Quran. I follow the religion of love. Whatever way love's camel takes, that is my religion and my faith. O marvel, a garden amidst the flames. My heart has become capable of every form. It is a pasture for gazelles, and a convent for Christian monks, and a temple for idols, and the pilgrim's Kaaba, and the tablets of the Torah, and the book of the Quran. I follow the religion of love. Whatever way love's camel takes, that is my religion and my faith. by St. John of the Cross. I entered into unknowing and remained there, knowing nothing. This place transcends all thought. I had no idea where I was, but when I found myself there, without knowing where there was, I suddenly understood sublime things, ineffable things. I will not even try to say what I felt as I let myself down into the arms of unknowing. This embrace transcends all thought. I discovered the science of perfect peace, perfect holiness. A direct path opened through the heart of solitude. Speechless, I walked into the unknown. This journey transcends all thought. I was so intoxicated, so totally absorbed, so completely enraptured. All my senses were drained of sensation, and my spirit was filled with an understanding beyond understanding. This awareness transcends all thought. Whoever arrives in the land of unknowing frees herself of herself. Everything she thought she knew falls away, and her consciousness expands to enfold the entire universe. This circle transcends all thought. The higher she ascends, the less she understands. The dark cloud that lights up the night reveals itself as pure mystery. The knower rests in unknowing. This dark light transcends all thought. Such knowing by unknowing is so exalted, so potent, that there is not a thinker alive who can grasp it with his mind. Who can reach that high? We can only understand by not understanding. This wisdom transcends all thought. It is a science so exalted, a study so sublime, that no human faculty can contain it. The only way to attain it is to plunge into the unknown. This leap transcends all thought. Listen, this sacred understanding lies in a single sip of the divine essence. Knowing by unknowing is an act of mercy the Beloved pours on us. This mercy transcends all thought. Wasn't that delicious? 16th century Spanish mystic. Same as Zen, same as... They're all the same, which is what I'd love to explore with you tonight. Not that they're all the same in the sense that there's one big mush of homogeneous spiritual insight that tastes like nothing, but in the sense that there are echoes of the essential wisdom teachings in every single tradition. And it's the mystics that seem to go right to the heart of that common heart of the spiritual essence we find in all the traditions. Because they go beyond form, and so in that formless space, it all connects. And then they come back into form and kind of celebrate the separate containers. So it's this dance between form and formlessness that the mystics seem to engage in, that I find absolutely irresistible. So I was saying that I was brought up in a non-religious Jewish household. In fact, my parents were very anti-religion, but I had this passionate attraction to every religion and spiritual tradition that I encountered. So I kept it secret as long as I could, and then it just burst out and I couldn't. And so when I was 14, I also experienced a very painful, tragic loss. I don't know if yours was a loss, but that's what it was for me, and catapulted me onto my spiritual path at that age, at 14. And fortunately, the school that I went to here in Taos was an alternative school, and it was run by the Lama Foundation. So I went up to Lama and moved there on my own at 14 because I was exposed to what was going on up there, and it just felt exactly like what I needed. And at Lama, I was exposed to every one of the world's major religions and spiritual traditions. And not just exposed to them, but we practiced. They still do deeply practice in various traditions, almost all of them. And so I was sort of raised first by my parents without a sense that there was one religion that was right and all the others were wrong. That was not at all the message. They were all wrong. And and yet my parents did have deep heart and a deep spirit and a spiritual, I mean, you know them. You know my mom. She's a very spiritually oriented human being, but she just isn't religious. And then through my exposure to all of the traditions and the teachers and teachings at Lama, I just thought that everyone believed that all paths lead to the one. So it was a very rude awakening as an adult to find out that that was not the case, and that there are people who have very fundamentalist beliefs, so including atheists who are just as fundamentalist in many ways often. So Lama kind of ruined me and broke me open, and that's why I am the way I am, I would say, because of Lama Foundation. Interestingly, the tradition I knew least about was Christianity. I was very much drawn to Hinduism and Buddhism. I developed a very strong relationship with Neem Karoli Baba, Ram Dass's guru in Be Here Now, and who I still consider to be my primary spiritual connection. And I began a basic Vipassana practice at 16 or 17 and have had it ever since, and have dipped in and out of Zen. And then I returned to my Jewish roots as a young adult through studying with Reb Zalman, and have incorporated certain elements of my own heritage into my spiritual practices, especially Shabbat, which for me is a contemplative practice, and the high holidays. But Christianity was, I didn't know from Christianity. So I was a Sufi. At 18 is about when I took initiation as a Sufi. So when I was 20, I went to Spain and I was studying Spanish literature, and I encountered San Juan de la Cruz, St. John of the Cross. And that broke me open to the Christian mystics. When I found John of the Cross, I just said, he is the Rumi of Spain. All of his poetry, with that ecstatic love poetry to God, sounded just exactly like Rumi. So my entry into Christian mysticism was through Sufism. And then, of course, I found out that Jews, Christians, and Muslims all coexisted and, in fact, collaborated for over 700 years in Spain under Muslim rule during the so-called Golden Age of Spain. So it makes sense that they all echo each other, especially at the level of the mystics and of poetry. So my relationship with the mystics is largely through sacred poetry, and that has led me to this very natural interspiritual path. So I'd like to speak for just a few minutes about what I mean by interspirituality, and because that's becoming more and more of an accepted term now. It wasn't very long ago even known at all, really. It was, I think when I told my mother about it, or I published something, she changed it to interfaith because she thought I'd made a mistake. So what's the difference between interfaith dialogue and interspirituality? Primarily, it's one of moving from the head to the heart. So interfaith dialogue, which has been going on for a very long time with wonderful and important results, is often about gathering ordained representatives of each religious tradition around the table, an actual table or a virtual table, where they share what it is they love about their own religious tradition and listen with an open mind and hopefully an open heart to others speak about their tradition. So the interfaith dialogue is very much a matter of gaining an intellectual orientation toward other traditions with the hope of building tolerance and understanding and peace on earth. Very worthy goal. Interspirituality isn't interested in tolerance. Like, I don't want you to tolerate my Judaism. I want you to come and pray with me on Yom Kippur and fast with me and sing the niguns, the ancient Hebrew melodies, and allow them to penetrate your heart and transform you. I don't want to just appreciate the fact that you might be a Roman Catholic who goes to Mass and receives communion with the understanding that you are taking into your own self the body and blood of Christ, who is the essence of love, and allowing that communion to transform you. I want to participate. Unfortunately, in the Roman Catholic tradition, I can't, although certain priests who shall remain unnamed have given me communion, and Episcopal priests have given me communion. And I just spent a week, I just got back a couple of days ago to a Benedictine monastery in Santa Barbara, and they're Episcopal monks. They live the monastic life, the 5 divine offices that they chant every day, Gregorian chants, like similar to Gregorian chants. Beautiful. And I taught out in a retreat. It was a contemplative interspiritual retreat with a Benedictine nun, and we did the divine offices every day. We entered into the monastic rhythm of the community, and I was just I was in ecstasy to be able to have the opportunity to do that. And when I sit zazen and when I sit vipassana, it feels like coming home. They all feel like home to me. So here's the essence of my little rap on interspirituality. When I was in my 20s, I was told that it was great to dabble in all of these different religions so I could get to know them, and for the purpose of picking one. And it was as if I were window shopping, and eventually I would make up my mind. I would pick one tradition so that I could go deep. The underlying message there is what? That practicing and experiencing multiple paths is somehow shallow and superficial, that you're being a spiritual dilettante when you do that. And so there was a kind of violence in that message that I took in, that I internalized, and felt that I was bad and wrong because I couldn't pick one. And it wasn't because I couldn't make up my mind. I felt and still feel that I was in fact having a profound encounter with the sacred in multiple spiritual homes. There was nothing shallow and superficial about it, and I knew that in my heart, but it didn't jive with this sort of adult message of cultivating a single discipline in a single tradition. It has taken me years to recover from the violence of that message and to embrace my interspiritual nature. And I find that we're everywhere. People like me, they may be sitting in this room, I suspect they are, who have a heart response to multiple spiritual traditions, and it's real and it's authentic and it's transformational. I see us as being like bees that are buzzing around this garden, and we are cultivating, we are gathering, that's the word I want, gathering nectar from all of these beautiful flowers and turning it into honey. And with that honey, we nourish ourselves and we feed the hungry world. I found out recently that in Egypt they buried the kings with honey in their tombs, and when they dug them up, the honey was still good. So honey lasts and lasts for a long, long time. So I think honey is a good metaphor. The other thing about bees is they don't gather the juice from the noxious weeds. They don't drink the poison. So it's not that you're being a dilettante to not accept the negative aspects of various religions. So I've been accused of just cherry picking, just taking the parts I like, the feel-good parts of each religion, and rejecting the hard work. If there's a passage in the Torah about people murdering each other and wiping out entire villages, every man, woman, and child, and I reject that's somehow I'm missing something. I'm not showing up for the hard work of trying to get that scripture, seeing what it has to give. And I understand that argument. But I really believe that human beings are endowed with this faculty of discernment, and that we're supposed to discern the sweetness from the poison. We're supposed to gather the goodness, and we're supposed to say no to the messages of violence and division and separation. We need to give it a chance. We also have this Abrahamic legacy of Jacob in the Torah, who struggled all night, wrestled with an angel of God. And in the morning, when dawn broke, Jacob was triumphant. He won. And he demanded a blessing of the angel. And the angel gave him a strange blessing, which was to ask him his name and then rename him. He said, "From now on you shall be called Israel," which means wrestling with the divine, because you have struggled with an angel and you have been triumphant. And so Israel means God wrestler, the ones who encounter and grapple and don't just accept what we're told, but test it, like the Buddha taught us. Be lamps unto yourselves. That's Jacob wrestling with the angel and discerning what is truth himself. So that's our legacy, and that's what we're equipped to do, to know the difference between that which can become honey to nourish ourselves and feed the world, and that which is poison. That is not only okay to reject, but we're supposed to. It would be stupid to drink the poison. That's my wrap on interspirituality. I could go on at much greater length, but I know we need to move on. So I don't think there is, I'm just going to try to say a few more things about this, and then we'll sit. I don't think there is any danger of losing rigor. I think that's one of the concerns about interspirituality, is that it lacks spiritual discipline. I met with Thomas Keating of Centering Prayer this summer, and he said, that's my worry about this path that because he's very much an advocate of interspirituality, that some people are going to just use it as an excuse to be lazy, and that they won't cultivate that rigor that's needed to really navigate the spiritual path with any kind of authenticity. And so I don't know what to say about that, except that I have faith in us, that we will be able to engage in that grappling, wrestling encounter with the angels, and we will, in doing so, galvanize our understanding, and that the interspiritual path is not for the faint of heart. Why? Because it demands that we disarm ourselves, disarm our hearts again and again, that we surrender to not knowingness, to radical unknowingness. That's terrifying. And it requires tremendous courage of heart to keep saying yes, to showing up, to being willing to allow ourselves to have a true encounter outside of our comfort zone. Yesterday, the Jehovah's Witnesses came to the door when it was really late, really busy, really important, my important little life. And, you know, I was brought up to disdain Jehovah's Witnesses. But I just make it a point every time they come to stop, to show up, to listen, to smile, to thank them. And they gave me a pamphlet telling me that people who die don't really die, and that God hates death. So I really had to wrestle with that angel. But that's where the love breaks through. So, and for me, the path of interspirituality is most beautifully exemplified, as I said, through the mystics and the poetry of the mystics. I'm on my way tomorrow to the Bahamas to teach at Shivananda Ashram, so from the Benedictine monastery in Santa Barbara to the very strict, austere Shivananda Ashram in the Bahamas. And it's a symposium on the mystics. So they're gathering people from all over the world in all different traditions, and then me, who's no tradition in all traditions, to explore the poetry and the teachings of the mystics. So I love what I get to do, and the mother is a big part of that path for me too.